This is Draconian Harry, and here's my quick prediction for Jaron Boots Ennis versus Xander Zayas for the 154-pound unified title in New York this evening. I'm picking Jaron Boots Ennis by majority decision, and I did have him by knockout, but after watching Boots versus Karen 1 and 2 last night, I do have my concerns. The first concern is that Boots can become easily frustrated, especially in the first fight where Karen was on his back foot for most of the bout. He seemed easily frustrated, throwing punches, missing wildly, turning around when throwing his punches. He just seemed visibly flustered. And I don't expect Xander to be on the move as much as Karen, but if he tries to use that same game plan, it could present Boots Ennis with some problems. Another thing I noticed is that Boots Ennis' clinch work is a little bit overrated. Sometimes I feel like he smothers his work, and when he's fighting on the front foot, he's not nearly as effective to me as when he's on his back foot. I think for Boots to win this fight, ideally it happens at a stalemate distance, sort of like the Roman Vila fight, where the guy just stood in front of him, wasn't necessarily on the back foot or front foot, and they can go toe-to-toe. But when you have someone as mobile as Karen, he has issues. Now, I'm not anticipating that Xander will be on the move as much as Karen, but I do expect him to use some things he learned from watching that fight. Another thing I noticed is that I don't believe Boots is as strong as the clinch as I would hope. He was struggling in the clinch with Karen. Maybe struggling is the wrong word, but I noticed he didn't necessarily overpower Karen in the clinch scenarios. Obviously, he's moving up a division to fight Xander, who will have the size advantage and will probably come in weighing around 180, 185. So this could be a reason for concern for Boots as well. Something else I noticed is that Boots' defense or lack of defense is often over-exaggerated. What I mean by that is people were suggesting that Boots was getting teed off on by Karen and that Karen was just easily hitting him, and that wasn't the case at all. Even though Boots struggled to land on Karen, you could definitely say Karen struggled to land on Boots. I feel like Boots' defensive instincts and reflexes are extremely sharp. I like the way he parries punches. I like the way he defends himself in the pocket. So I anticipate that if Xander decides to fight in the pocket, he'll have his issues landing. I don't think he can outbox Boots. I believe Boots has the reach advantage. But overall, I am anticipating a Boots Ennis majority decision. I like Xander. I think he's solid competition. I do think this is a bit too much for him, but I want to avoid throwing in any excuses for him. He's 23 years old, and a lot of people are celebrating the fact that he didn't even have to take this fight. But in my opinion, you're a professional boxer. You're a champion holding 2 belts. You take the best fights available. You're not going to get any extra glory for doing your job. And so that's the way I look at this fight. I do think Xander has the potential to secure a robbery on the scorecards because of where the fight's located and because Top Rank is participating in the promotion along with Matchroom Boxing. So that is one of my concerns, but I do think Boots will win decisively. But I'm not necessarily sold on Boots after watching those Karen fights. Of course, he looks spectacular against Lima, but that's Lima. I do think going up to 154 pounds will help him, but ultimately, we'll just have to see the fight for ourselves. I do have Boots Ennis by majority decision, and I look forward to seeing the bout.